Way to crush hopes, McDonald's. Nice. Last place on earth where America believed in possibilities and you killed it. Thanks. Speaking of thanks for liking, subscribing. Thanks for your shares, your comments, and being a part of @Bud Ford Comedy. You remember when game shows used to rule America? A guy could win a blender and cry like he just escaped poverty. Those were good times. Game shows for life. Talk about that coming up in a few minutes. And again, I thank you for your subscription. Now, no more walking over to the drink machine like you're the king of carbonation. McDonald's says we're done with you being able to walk over and get your own drinks. Most of us are upset. You can't blame us. It's not even about the soda, I don't think. It's about the sovereignty. It's about losing a piece of America. The self-serve machine has a lot going on. It's one of the last places where we feel powerful. We can do anything we want. We can hit the ice, hit the extra ice, and just keep icing it. We can get reckless with flavors. We can throw them all in. Oh, you know you've done it. Check them all out all the way down the line. Get to the end, you're like, this is going to be sick. Tastes like battery acid, but whatever. You try to act like it's cool in front of your parents. That machine represents freedom, especially the ones with the big circles. You know, they're all digital and whatnot, and you can hit them, and you're like, oh, look, they already have a button for Dr. Pepper, cherry, vanilla, lemon, lime, grape, licorice. It's already there. Isn't that wonderful? You just push the button, out it comes. That's real power. I lived a time when you had to walk up to the counter and ask for a refill. It was a traumatic event, too. And who does not miss the McDonald's play place? No padding, no supervision. Everything was all metal, bunch of static electricity, bugs, snakes, whatever was in there. All things metal, everything trying to cut you. Somehow, your parents were like, hey, why don't you go over there playing hamburger jail? Me and your daddy are going to go sit indoors and smoke. We don't want to ruin the outside for everyone else. Surviving an 80s McDonald's play place, let's not kid ourselves, that qualified you to be an adult in this crazy world. Nowadays, they're all plastic. And since they've become plastic and a place for you to put your shoes and all, we've gotten soft. We as people have gotten soft. Don't blame me. Starts at the play place. Ain't nobody eats inside McDonald's no more. Nobody. What they've realized is they're basically giving away free refills to a diner that has 3 people in it, and one of them's really there just charging his phone. Nobody's hanging out in there. Nobody's relaxing. That's not what we do anymore. Everybody's just standing around looking at their phone app, waiting for their notification. McDonald's used to feel like a place you wanted to be. Now it feels like a fulfillment center with ketchup. There was a time when you went into McDonald's, you sat down with your family. People were there. The play place full. Teenagers hanging out. The ladies behind the counter were the teenagers' school friends, and they were cute. So they were just trying to get a date. You could circle around the drive-thru, get a milkshake. You back later for a milkshake. I gained 37 pounds trying to get a girl to go out with me one time. She never did go out with me, and I just got fat for nothing. Whatever, that's a different story. It's a different day. But all the cool chicks worked at McDonald's. Couldn't really work at Chick-fil-A in my hometown. That was like a 35, 40-minute drive. And if you knew someone that worked at the mall, they were uppity. Also, you know what's missing in McDonald's, which what used to make it comfortable? 2 or 3 old men sitting around talking about weather patterns and brake pads. Now it ain't like that. Now it's a bunch of giant touch screens. Right when you walk in, you're supposed to order on this screen, which is always a mess, and you got a dejected employee yelling, "Number 46!" Like you're picking up evidence. The soda machine was the only human part of the process that remained. There was community around it. You could be all judgy. You stand in line and you look out of one eye and you see what everybody else is getting. You're like, oh, 9:30 a.m.? Full-on high C? That's bold. Must be having a rough day. McDonald's used the old corporate lines. It's consistency. It's efficiency. Of course it is. It's corporate language for, y'all drinking too much Sprite, and we don't like that much Sprite in you. See what I did there? Trying to Whatever. You know who ruined it? Portland. Portland ruins every damn thing. I don't know if you know that or not. That happens. It really is sad because every year these restaurants become a little less fun and a little more dystopian. No cashiers, no fountains, no human interaction, no humanity. Eventually, McDonald's is going to be like pulling up to the bank. They're going to have one of those tubes. Thank you. No, like, thank you for coming. Hope you come back again soon. Put the tube back in. It sits there for the next person, which is sanitary too. Write this down. I said that on this date. Somebody in Silicon Valley is like, you know what? Big Mac's through a tube. That's a win for us. Game shows make us feel like America's doing all right, right? That's the thing. My name is Bud Ford at Bud Ford Comedy. Thank you for liking, subscribing, being a part of the channel. Game shows made everything all right at the end of the day, too. Everybody smiling, everybody clapping. I mean, if you win a new washer and dryer and a new sauna, well, your week is made, right? And I love game shows, not just a few of them. I like them all. Like, I really like that genre of TV. I like when crowds laugh. This is going to come in as a shocker to you. That's what television taught me. That taught me what life is supposed to be based on television, right? You're supposed to make the audience laugh, make them smile, do your best to make them happy, and then disappear until next time. That's the way I grew up. It was cool. Game shows did that sort of format. The Carol Burnett show was a live thing, and it was all about funny. So life just worked like that on the funny shows. I grew up on The Price is Right. I always liked Jeopardy, Card Shark, Press Your Luck, all of those. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I still like the modern game shows, but I love to go back and watch the Game Show Network. I love to pick up the Dating Game, the Newlywed Game, Family Feud. There were so many of those shows that were incredible. I love to watch them. There was a lot of war all over the world then, so they were always talking about some third world country that you couldn't have picked up on a map if you wanted to. That doesn't make it any less relevant. But as a kid, it just didn't matter in my world. This stuff wasn't about that. Mom and Dad weren't talking about it. They were just enjoying television, which was fun. Some dude just going higher or lower. It just felt right. The guys that hosted those shows, too, were absolute legends. I mean, you name the show, the hosts were as big as the show. I enjoyed the work of Wink Martindale. I don't know if you remember him from Tic-Tac-Dough or where you remember him because he did so many different things. Before game shows, Wink was a DJ in Memphis. He was working there during the birth of rock and roll, if you will. And I don't mean just around it. I mean right there at the radio station where Elvis Presley does his first on-air work, which was insane. Now, he was not the disc jockey that was on the air, but we probably heard in Memphis something like this. Good evening, all you good-looking people. This is Dewey Phillips on WHBQ Radio 56. Welcome to Red, Hot, and Blue. That's what he called the show, Red, Hot, and Blue. Then he probably went on and said something like, with stacks of wax wear, wall-to-wall, and treetop tall, got a new thing from Memphis. This guy is shaking him hips and coming on the charts. That's all right, mama. On Radio 56, WHBQ. Probably something like that, right? It's really cool. Wink was in the building that day. Now, Wink will then go on and get in touch with Elvis to set up his first live interview. Very cool how deeply intertwined he is. He's like Forrest Gump with a microphone. He hosts the dance shows. He'll work with musicians, live crowds on television, and that's where the game show thing comes out. Because live crowds, that's a different kind of work, and I've done a lot of that in my career. It's a different thing. Wink felt bulletproof. You felt like if the teleprompter exploded and everything just stopped, he would just start talking with Elvis or anybody else and interview them, and you could just sit and listen to it. It was amazing to me to watch him do what he did. At one point, you may not know this, I didn't, he had an actual hit record. It was a spoken word record. I believe it was titled Deck of Cards. He sold over 1 million copies of that, which means as Americans, we were like, you know what? Let's let the game show host have a hit too. He can be a pop star, why not? I loved Bob Eubanks. He was my absolute favorite. This dude was show business walking. He was smooth, he was fast, he could work a room in seconds. Before the Newlywed Game, he was working in the promotion business for music stars. Probably some acts you've never heard of. The Rolling Stones, the Beatles. He was also managing a few unheard of no-name country acts that no one will remember, like Merle Haggard and Dolly Parton. It was so much fun as a guy who worked in the country music industry and a guy who loves game shows, and Bob had the dream job, in my opinion. He was so good at it. It was fun to just sit and talk to him. It wasn't really a resume the man was building. He's sort of speed running through American entertainment history. He was real, yet he had a voice that made him sound programmed. Seacrest to me is a little stiff, but he's not bad. The experimental hosting of Jeopardy, that's sort of an embarrassment on that game. I'm not sure now if the game can recover. It's a tragedy on what Alex Trebek created. It's a shame. Eubanks always made you feel like he could get done with his game show and then go out behind the casino and work a deal for someone to play a show, finish the contracts, and then go back to work. He was that kind of guy. To me, he was sort of a working man's high-end game show host, if there is such a thing. I always thought if I could work at QVC, maybe do a combination of the two. Are you kidding me? That's the best job in the world. You're going to need timing. You'll need energy. You'll need the ability to convince America that they definitely need a decorative knife set at 2:17 in the morning. And I'm running out of the fuchsia one, so let's snap it up, Grandma. We ain't got all day. That's what I'm talking about. For that job, you're going to need, I'm tailor-made for that. You're going to need timing. I'm tailor-made for this. You need timing, crowd energy, quick recovery, and the ability to convince people they absolutely need a new knife set at 2:17 a.m. And I'm down to just 20 fuchsia ones left. Hurry now, or you're going to lose this deal. Who can forget one of the greatest of all time? Bob Barker. This man is a Navy fighter pilot, trained in World War II and fought, which completely changes the way you see him if you did not know that. All that calm energy, that didn't come from TV training. Nobody put this man in front of a camera in college and trained him like that. No. That energy comes from being in combat, manipulating planes, and surviving. Your inability to price a microwave was not going to rattle this man. After the war, he goes into radio. They know him as The Voice. They're like, this is the guy. What a great voice, which puts him on Truth or Consequences because he was a very pretty man. And then he goes on and obviously becomes America's favorite grandfather. So if you're keeping score, Bob Eubanks felt like Las Vegas. Wake Martindale felt like rock and roll. And Bob Barker felt like America had adult supervision. These dudes had the greatest jobs in America. They put on a tuxedo, they gave people boats and stuff, and then they flirted with their wives and grandmothers. That's a career. Tell me I'm not made for that. Tell her what she's won, bud. You've got a slightly used Nissan Altima and crippling property taxes. Congratulations! Come on, tell me you don't want to clap for that, right? Crowd cheers, everybody's happy. And don't forget our knife set tonight. Cuts right through a shoe, cut through a skill saw blade, whatever you need cut, This knife will do it. And don't act like I'm the only one that's ever sat on watching Jeopardy, got my pencil out and writing things down. Me and my dad are going question for question. We're seeing who gets what, and then we write down how much we bid, and if we got the question right, we yelled out the answers and whatnot. I'm all like, what is Nebraska? Not even close. But you did answer with confidence. It was California. No consequences if I got it wrong. Miss one question, nobody cares. Miss one on television, and your family has to watch you in reruns losing $250,000 because you thought Gandhi invented Bluetooth. There's consequences to things. Tell you what ruined game shows. The lottery ruined game shows. Forever. The lottery starts every single time with like $50 million. And then it'll go to $1 billion when nobody's looking. How do you compete with that as a game show? You can't. Old game shows had real prizes. Congratulations, you just won a year's supply of Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Ding, ding! People lost their minds. Now, every prize package sort of sounds exhausting. Congratulations. You've won a luxury eco-adventure through Iceland. You know what? I was kind of hoping for a recliner and a blender and a sauna. I like saunas. I need something to sell to pay the taxes for the recliner and the blender. That's why The Price is Right was king. It was simple. Guess the price of soup, win a jet ski. That is America right there. I read this article because apparently, I'm 94 now. But Michael Larson was the guy who absolutely took pressure luck for an incredible amount of money. What did he do? He memorized the patterns. If you don't remember the game, they were lights that went boop, 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 boop around this square, and the contestants were yelling, no whammy, no whammy, stop, and they hit the button, and even and then they either won whatever the prize was, $5,000, jumped 2 places to the right, and then 2 places to the right there was a box that add 5 spins or whatever it was, or you bankrupt and the Culture Club song, do you really want to hurt me? And they had this, whatever. It was cool, it was animated, it was a really cool way to approach a game show. We hadn't done that on television yet. And it went over real well. He beat CBS legally. It's the most American crime ever. He beat them not by hacking, not by stealing. Nope, he beat CBS by studying. Even I realized at my young age, like 10 or 11 when this thing was on television, that those lights moved in patterns. I could hear it, boop, 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 boop. So I realized that. So I knew kind of in my mind where to stop. Well, this guy went a little further. He knew everything about the pattern, and he soaked them. And they couldn't really say he cheated. This today would be called using analytics. The football teams use them. Everyone uses it, right? People now show up with a spreadsheet, 3 monitors, and they tell you about the Larson method. It wasn't like that then. And also, can we admit something about game shows specifically? Can we admit that Richard Dawson, let's play the feud, and that whole show is always looking for the anatomy joke? Come on. Name something a husband hides from his wife. That's not a game show question. That's deposition prep. You ever notice how people on game shows clap like they've never seen humans before? I mean, they are nuts. When Steve Harvey's filming The Family Feud, you got to feel like he looks out in that crowd and he goes, I left stand-up for this, but I make $10 million a year. I stare at people who make really stupid answers. Sometimes his face tells you they're dumb. Then he looks up and he goes, a meatball sandwich. Yeah. And he laughs his way through it. Steve Harvey is the greatest American success story maybe of our time for The Family Feud. Think about it. It's a big deal. Richard Dawson used to run down and kiss everybody on that show. He was a kissing fool. I don't think I would ever want to be that close to that many people. Do not sleep on the match game. One of the all-time greatest games in the world. The music It was sick. It wasn't really a game show. It was more like America's largest cocktail party, and we got to drop in. The funny thing about it, too, is the contestants were competing for money. But the real game was trying to see if they could connect and get the same answers as the celebrity panel. Just this picture, if you're watching from a video side, shows Betty White on there, Richard Dawson. Other game show hosts were on game shows, which was a very weird time for the world. You have Charles Nelson Riley at the very end because, well, he's a national treasure. Basically, all they want you to do is match the match game, match the celebrity panelist, and know that everything about the show, once again like Family Feud, is designed to sound inappropriate. Dumb Dora was so dumb that she found a blank in her blank. And immediately, all 6 of those celebrities take a sip of bourbon and grab a marker, and they write something down. And all of us sat at home waiting to see if Charles Nelson Riley and Betty White were going to also write Naked Gardener. That was the show, and that's all it took for family entertainment in the 70s. It was a different time. It worked, mainly because of Gene Rayburn. He was like the greatest host ever. He had the cool host energy. He had the big, long microphone. Looked like he just stole it off a weather balloon. Gene always felt like a substitute teacher that was just barely hanging on to control of the whole situation. And does anybody remember why Charles Nelson Riley is famous? No, there's not a person alive that knows. All we know him for is questionable sunglass choices and great answers on game shows. He's a professional game show guy. Wheel of Fortune! Yeah. You know why I like Wheel of Fortune? Not for the reason most people did. I liked it because Vanna White was one of 8 people total that's ever been from North Myrtle Beach. That's just cool. Pat Sajak, dry humor, quick little sarcastic comments. Sort of felt like a guy who secretly realized that he's lucky to have this job too. He tried doing the talk show. I don't know if you remember that debacle. It was a rough time in America because he would be out doing the monologue and he would tell the joke and deliver the punchline. The crowd would laugh, so it would go like this. And the man said bingo. And the crowd's all laughing, clapping and everything. And then right when it all died down, he would go, see, the man said bingo, because he wanted to be funny. And then he laughs again. And the crowd's like, bruh, that's enough. They give you the courtesy laugh on Wheel of Fortune because they're a studio audience and they're kind. It's not funny. That show was awful. It was terrible. But I still liked him as a dude, too, because it was almost like there for a long time he didn't realize we knew he was bald like me. That was fun until the lid got blown off of that. But I still liked the dude, and I liked the way he handled it. It was basically competitive spelling. I'm not into that. People are sitting around, oh my Lord, I cannot believe she solved it. Lady, she asked for 3 vowels, and the answer was birthday party. I'm a trivia guy. I like the energy of the question. You need the answer, and you need the knowledge, and you got to buzz in before somebody else. Watching Wheel of Fortune, because they always came on back to back when I was a kid, Wheel of Fortune felt to me like the remedial version of game shows. I'd like a R, a S, a T. Yeah, spit it out, L-N-E. Finally, they just gave it to you, right? They're like, come on, man, it's going to take forever for them to spit this out. We get it. There's alphabet. Who cares? Best version of the Wheel of Fortune, you would expect me to say this, right, is when we had the prize parts, when they went in and the contestants' heads floated around the studio and they got to shop for prizes. And the prize room looked like a Sears clearance aisle, a Vegas gift shop, and your grandmother's living room all merged together. It was so much fun to see somebody win $3,200 and then spend I'll put $900 on the lamps. I'd like to put $1,400 for the luggage. $600 for the ceramic bird, and put the rest on account. Who priced that stuff? Drug dealers. Actual documented items from the show. I don't make this stuff up. Gold-plated towel racks, elephant-shaped end tables, giant Toblerone bars, decorative milk cans, and ceramic Dalmatians. It's not a game show. That's Grandma's attic with applause. But that room made that show feel real. People didn't just win cash. When you win cash, to me, it's not connected to anything. That room gave away specific stuff, weird stuff. But I could put something with that show that added another layer to my understanding and enjoyment of it. I mean, you and I both know that America was built on wicker furniture, luggage sets, and optimistic lamps. We root for each other, which we really don't do now. That's not common. You watch the news, everybody's angry. You go to social media, everybody's fighting. Game shows, still optimistic. We can all watch a phlebotomist from Bucksnort, Tennessee, yelling, "Win big money!" And we can get behind that. It's beautiful. We want to see that. Less outrage, more spinning wheels, less doom scrolling, more Plinko. Because for 1 hour a day, we get to focus on nothing. It's just about watching somebody else win. I don't care what's falling apart outside that door. I get to watch somebody win. I can discuss later the merits of whether a ceramic Dalmatian is worth $850. That's what keeps the game grounded. Maybe one day they're going to be all like, "Hey, bud, grab your blazer. We need somebody to fill in." Don't think I won't be ready. When it's my turn to serve, I'm in. Game shows for life. Thanks for your time today. I'm at Bud Ford Comedy. My name is Bud like the beer, Ford like the truck, and I appreciate you spending time with me today.